Welcome to the War Dragons Renegade season, which is the winter season for 2024. It will run from November 27th until February 24th. Now, without further ado, let's look at the first dragon. As per usual, I will begin with the discount dragon. For this season, Renegades, it will be an ice warrior named Glaciator. Now, when looking at the spells, the first one we see is Icebane. It is a white spell that, while active, will cost 0.2 rage per second. It will also block 80% of all incoming damage and increase the dragon's breath attack by 100%. The next spell we have is a spell called Blizzburn. It is another white spell that costs 2 rage. When cast, the dragon will gain 150% increased breath damage for 4 seconds. The cooldown is 5 seconds. The next spell we have is a spell called Ravager. It is a red spell that costs 1 rage. When cast, the dragon damages nearby towers for 3% of its modified HP. The dragon will also restore 20% of its modified HP, and will gain 2 rage, as well as become invincible for 2 seconds. The cooldown is 12 seconds. Glaciator's final spell is a spell called Glacium. It is a white spell that costs 1 rage. When cast, it deals 15% of the dragon's HP as damage and freezes all towers within range for 3 seconds. The cooldown is 2 seconds. Since the spells have been seen, let's now look at the runes and glyph, as well as portrait that will come with this dragon. With the discount seen, let's now look at our mythics, starting with the Mythic Fire Invoker in a fix. Looking at the spells, we can see that all of them are white. The first spell is called Eclipsean, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and it costs 1 rage. When cast, the dragon gets 100% damage reduction from towers and immunity to super shots in Ori Pool. It also gains 2 rage when hit by mage tower super shots. The duration is 3 seconds and the cooldown is 6 seconds. The next spell is Scorch Wave, which will cost 1 rage. On cast, it will damage a target tower for 100% of the dragon's modified HP. The effect will bounce to 2 random nearby towers, with damage increasing by 150% on each bounce. The cooldown is 5 seconds. The third spell is a spell called Frostburn that costs 1 rage. On cast, it'll deal 2% of the dragon's modified HP as damage to all towers in the target area, and will freeze them for 3 seconds. The cooldown is 7 seconds and the radius is 5. The fourth white spell is called Blaze Call and costs 1 rage. On cast, the dragon will damage nearby towers for 10% of its modified HP. The dragon will gain 10% of its modified HP in return, and will also restore 1 rage and become invincible for 3 seconds. The cooldown is 7 seconds. Lastly, we come to its passive spell, Pyroclasm. The dragon gains 15% of its modified attack for the rest of the battle with each use. Stacks are removed by Ice Flak super shots. Now that we have seen the spells, let's go ahead and look at the runes and glyphs, as well as the portrait that will come with this dragon. On to the second of 3 mythics of the Renegade season, we have the Mythic Dark Sorcerer Cerebron. Just like the Invoker of this season, this Sorcerer also has 4 white spells, the first of which is Pulsating Terror. It costs 2 rage. Upon cast, the dragon dodges all incoming projectile attacks and super shots for 4 seconds and deals 4% of its modified HP as damage to all nearby towers per second. The dragon also flies at half of its original speed. The cooldown is 6 seconds. The next spell is Demonic Grace, which costs 1 rage. Upon cast, it increases the dragon's attack damage by 300% and inflicts 5% of the dragon's modified HP per second on buildings for 3 seconds. Despite this, it claims the duration is 5 seconds, and the cooldown is 2 seconds. The next spell is Apotic Guard, which does not cost any rage. On cast, it reduces the incoming damage by 100%, as well as grants immunity to Cosmic Ori Pool effect. The dragon instantly heals for 12% of its max HP. The duration is 4 seconds, and the cooldown is not applicable. Lastly, we have Maledict, which costs 1 rage. Upon cast, it deals 100 times the dragon's attack power's damage to a target tower and restores 4% of the dragon's modified HP. The duration is not applicable, and the cooldown is 3 seconds. With the spells out of the way, let's now look at the runes and glyph, as well as the portrait that will come with this dragon, should you choose to get it. Onto our final mythic, and the one that I think will be the most popular, we have the Mythic Earth Hunter Terranox. As with the Mythic Invoker and Mythic Sorcerer of the season, we can see that this one also has all white active spells. The first spell is a mix of two called Seismic Shift. It cycles between Mortal Blade and Epicenter. Mortal Blade costs 1 rage and deals 2000% of the dragon's modified attack as damage to a target tower. The duration is not applicable, and the cooldown is 3 seconds. This will then cycle to Epicenter, which also costs 1 rage. On cast, the dragon damages nearby towers for 10% of its modified HP. The dragon will also restore 30% of its modified HP, as well as gain 1 rage and become invincible for 3 seconds. The next white spell is called Sand Shroud, and it costs 1 rage. When cast, the dragon cloaks for 2 seconds, flies at half of its base speed, and cannot be hit by tower attacks for the duration of the spell. The dragon will also have 30% increased ammo regeneration and 100% rage generation while cloaked. Attacking or casting a spell will uncloak the dragon. The duration is 2 seconds, and the cooldown is 0.75 seconds. The last active spell is called Pulverize and costs 2 rage. On cast, it heavily damages any buildings in range that are currently affected by Crushmark, dealing damage to buildings by 15% of the dragon's HP, and regenerating 13% of the hunter ammo for each building destroyed. The duration is not applicable, the cooldown is 2 seconds, and the radius is 150. Lastly, we have the Mythic Hunter's passive attack, Crushmark. The Dragon's Breath attack debuffs towers to take 100% increased damage. Since it's a passive, there is no duration and there is no cooldown. It runs the entire flight. With the Hunter's spells read, it is now time to look at the ruins and glyph, as well as the portrait that will come with this dragon. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and a big shout out to Impervum for allowing me to use his images.